By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how the BRRRR method can let you build a portfolio of rental properties using almost none of your own cash. And the fifth step, it's the one most people skip, and it's the reason some investors go from one property to 10 in under 3 years. So sit back, grab a drink. Let's break it down step by step. Here's the thing. Real estate is one of the most powerful wealth building tools on the planet, but most people think they need a fortune to get started. They save for years. They wait for the perfect moment. They never buy that first property. BRRRR exists to blow that excuse apart. The whole system is built on a simple idea. You don't need to come out of pocket for the long haul. You need to be smart about how you deploy capital in the short term. And this strategy shows you exactly how to do that. All right, let's start at the beginning. Step 1 is buy. You find a distressed property, something that needs work. You purchase it at a discount because of its condition. Maybe it's a foreclosure. Maybe it needs a new roof, outdated plumbing, or cosmetic repairs nobody else wants to deal with. The key word is discount. You're not paying retail. You're buying at wholesale. Typically, you want to target properties listed at 60 to 70% of after repair value. That number matters because it creates the margin that makes everything else work. My friend Mark used this approach in Memphis 2 years ago. He found a 3-bedroom house that had been sitting on the market for 6 months. Water damage in the basement. Kitchens from 1987. The asking price was $87,000. He negotiated down to $62,000. The after repair value was $110,000. That's a gap of nearly $50,000. That's his safety net. That's his leverage. That's where the entire strategy lives. Step 2 is rehab. This is where the magic happens. You renovate the property to bring it up to market standards. You're not flipping it. You're not trying to make it look perfect for a buyer. You're making it rent ready, clean, functional, comparable to other rentals in the area. The goal is to close the gap between what you paid and what it's worth. That gap is your equity. Your equity is your ammunition for step 4. Now here's the critical part that trips up a lot of beginners. You need a reliable contractor. Not just someone who gives you a low bid, someone who shows up, does quality work, and finishes on schedule. I heard about an investor in Atlanta who hired the cheapest general contractor he could find for his first BRRRR property. The rehab took 4 months instead of 6 weeks. The contractor ghosted halfway through. He ended up paying twice as much to finish the project and missed his cash-out refinance deadline. His lender required the property to be leased before funding the loan. He had to scramble to find tenants just to close the deal. Don't be that person. Vet your contractors. Check references. Walk their current job sites. It matters more than you think. Step 3 is rent. Once the rehab is done, you put a tenant in the property. This is where the deal goes from theoretical to functional. The rental income is what makes everything sustainable. It pays the mortgage, covers expenses, and generates positive cash flow month after month. Now, how much rent should you charge? A common rule of thumb is the 1% rule. The monthly rent should be at least 1% of the total purchase and rehab costs. If you spent $140,000 all in, you want at least $1,400 per month in rent. That's a baseline. Some markets will exceed it. Some won't. But if you can't hit 1% in your market, you need to reconsider the deal entirely. There's also the DSCR metric lenders love, debt service coverage ratio. You calculate it by dividing net operating income by total debt service. Most lenders want a DSCR of at least 1.25. That means your property generates 25% more income than it costs to operate. It signals you're not living on the edge. You're building a cushion, a buffer for vacancies, for repairs, for the months when the refrigerator dies on a Sunday night. All right, here's where it gets interesting. Step 4 is refinance. This is the heartbeat of BRRRR. You take the property to a lender after the rehab is complete and it's producing rental income. The lender appraises it at its current value, not what you paid. What it's worth now after renovations. Remember Mark from Memphis? He bought at $62,000. He spent $38,000 on rehab. His total investment was $100,000. The lender appraised the finished property at $110,000. He refinanced for 75% of appraised value. That is $82,500. He got his entire initial capital out of the deal, and he still owned the property. Think about that for a second. He put money in. He did the work. And now that money is back in his pocket while the property generates monthly income. That's the power of this step. That's why it works. Most investors use a hard money lender for the initial purchase and rehab. Hard money loans are short-term, high-interest, asset-based loans. They exist specifically for situations like this. You buy and rehab quickly, then replace the hard money with a conventional cash-out refinance. The conventional loan has a lower interest rate, longer term, and doesn't require a balloon payment. Your exit strategy from hard money is the refinance. Without it, you're bleeding money and interest charges. With it, you're converting a short-term expense into long-term wealth. Now, a lot of people stop here. They do buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and they sit on one property forever. That is the mistake. Fifth step is repeat. You take the capital you pulled out of the first deal and you deploy it into the next one. Same process, same system. You buy low, rehab smart, rent, refinance, and pull your money back out again. Each property funds the next one. The equity from your first deal becomes the down payment for your second. The cash flow from your second covers your personal expenses while you scale to a third. A woman named Priya in Denver did exactly this over 5 years. She started with a single-family home that cost her $30,000 out of pocket after the BRRRR process. Within 18 months, she had 2 properties. Within 3 years, she had 5. Today, she owns 11 units. Her monthly cash flow covers her mortgage on her personal home twice over. She did it with the same capital recycled over and over. She didn't inherit money. She didn't get a windfall. She just followed the system and repeated it with discipline. Let that sink in for a second. One property funds the next. The next funds the one after that. You are not saving up to buy real estate. You are using real estate to fund itself. Here's the reality check, though. BRRRR, not a magic wand. It requires discipline. You need accurate numbers. Overestimating rent kills deals. Underestimating rehab costs kills deals. Buying in the wrong market kills deals. If your after repair value doesn't support the refinance, the whole strategy falls apart. The critical number is the loan to value ratio at refinance. Most lenders cap cash out refinances at 75% of appraised value. Some go to 80% for investment properties, but those often come with stricter DSCR requirements. Run your numbers before you fall in love with a property. Always. If you're finding this helpful, hit subscribe. I drop videos like this every week breaking down real estate strategies, financing options, and market analysis. The best stuff is still coming. Now, before you go, I want to leave you with one final thought. BRRRR is not about one house. It is about a system that compounds over time. The first deal is the hardest. It takes the longest. You learn the most. But once you understand the mechanics, once you have your contractor relationships, your lender partnerships, your underwriting criteria dialed in, the second one is faster. The third is faster still. And somewhere around deal number 5 or 6, you look up and realize you have built something that generates income whether you work or not. That is the goal. That is what this strategy can deliver if you execute it with patience and precision. So go find your first deal, run the numbers, be conservative, and then do it again. That is how wealth is built in real estate, one disciplined step at a time. If this video gave you something useful, share it with someone who's been sitting on the sidelines wondering if they can afford to invest. Hit like if you want more content like this, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.